I meditate live online, perhaps half a dozen times a month on average, with what I must describe as a group of advanced program owners. They've been through a couple of advanced meditation retreats with me. Just before we started to meditate a couple of weeks ago at 8:30 in the morning my time, a big machine wandered down the road outside with a claw on it, a rotating claw on it, because what they're doing outside is digging up a channel in the road to put down fibre optic. It started right outside this window just before we sat down to meditate. So I said to them, here's a challenge for us today. See if we can embrace the distraction of the noise as we sit and meditate together. It was only when I went back downstairs at about 9:15 that morning that I realised that just before we actually started meditating at about 9:25, the machine stopped. And it started again at about 9:03, about a minute after we finished meditating. Now, it took me a little while to clock the fact that that was some form of event, not a random event, a synchronicity. Last week, I meditated with the same group, and one of the girls who normally turns up couldn't be there, but I got an email from her later that day when she listened to the audio playback of our meditation together, and she said she was shocked, a little unsettled, stunned, because the night before she had had a dream about meditating on a beach with the tide lapping up and down the beach. And during the meditation that morning, and I've never used these words before, talked about how when we're in total flow, we can feel our energy moving effortlessly in our body like the tide washing over sand. She said to me, have you ever used that expression before? I said, no. She said, that's weird. There's some kind of interconnectedness going on here. That was a dream she had, and I mentioned those words that morning. Now, I've mentioned two things. The question is, are they random events? Are they little nothings? Are they just little somethings that arise and pass, like everything in life, of course, like every moment in life? Or are they something else? Are they synchronicities? Are they signs, if I can put it like that? I often use the phrase when people say to me, oh, you've changed my life. I say, no, I'm just the guy with the signpost. You changed your life. Are these little things signs? Or are they just little things? Now, I can only answer that question for me, and you can only answer that question for you, because, as we know from recent conversations that we have had, a synchronicity is something that you feel is a synchronicity. It isn't something that you think is a synchronicity. It isn't something that you cognitively appraise as a synchronicity. It's a feeling. But very often, these little things just happen, and they're gone. But when there's a flow of these little things, you have to beg the question as to whether you are experiencing a different level of awareness, a different level of being, a different level of living, because you are more tuned in and more interconnected. Now, there's something I would recommend to you. And that is that you read this week's reflection, because I explore this in more detail just below this video. I would also suggest to you that you act on this week's quick tip. Need I say more?